democratic, but right now with the private property system that we have, so often the elected officials are beholden to the wealthy special interests, not to the people. Also often citizens feel disenfranchised and they're not active enough in their government.
You're right, and that's why we've got to change the tide. Is that, hold on one second, is that, you know what, yeah, they're beholden, but I mean, they're beholden to special interests to pay off their campaigns, but they're really more beholden, and let's be really realistic to, let's say, some more concrete economic terms. That Boeing demanded, what, huge tax breaks to stay in Washington. We wouldn't give it to them, and they moved their corporate headquarters. And you can bet if we don't give Boeing the next set of tax cuts, they're going to move their Everett plant. And you know what? When our senators vote on whether I'm going to give them tax cuts, they don't need to be bought off by Boeing to represent the simple economic fact that if Boeing leaves, we is screwed. That's going to be a huge vacuum in our economy. And we're going to feel that everywhere. They're going to vote to give Boeing. Boeing has us totally. They ransom off whatever they want. They're holding us hostage. So I'm not even worried about special interests. I'm not worried about money and politics. I'm more worried about the fact that if we have a bunch of private people controlling our economy, they can do whatever they want to it. We got no choice. We have to play by their terms. This is one of the other fundamental appeals of this when we talk the citizen ownership of bringing it back to us, is say, you know what, we can vote our own interests. And we need to merge that economic and those political interests. And this is what I'll get into in one second, but that when you have a big economy, you have no say in, you are ultimately, disenfranchised completely. Question?
I guess my question is, instead of not trusting the government, is to get more active into trying to reform it and to change it.
So this is the point about the special interest money. They got all the special interest money in Washington. We still have to do what Boeing tells us to do, or they leave. And ain't nothing going to change that, no matter how active you are. Yeah.
So in this system where we're switching from producers to retailers as far as production decisions, and we're talking about politicians and people in power now being beholden to special interests, when we switch to retailers for decisions, are we kind of making smaller, more easily bought targets? As far as, if Nabisco approaches me as a retailer to sell their cookies over somebody who's churning away in Bellingham, I'm probably going to think pretty hard about selling Nabisco's cookies.
You're right.
At a higher price.
And this is where corporate accountability boards come in. And they're exactly what they say. They are boards of people elected to keep corporations accountable. And we definitely don't want people to get bought off. But let's be honest, there aren't that many corrupt politicians. In terms of the ones who actually take bribes, they tend to get caught. And the last 2 years, there's been a laundry list of Democrats and mostly Republicans who have been arrested and or convicted for taking bribes. So, you know what? This won't fix everything, but I'm not so worried about the outright bribery. And so when we're talking about citizen ownership, right, understand that right now stockholders elect boards that oversee these corporations, right? And so when you ask, if I'm running a small, my local grocery store and I get approached by Nabisco, similar things can happen in corporations. That, if I have a steel industry and you're making cars, I'm like, hey, I can give you a little under the table if you buy my steel. It's a little more expensive than the other things, but hey, it's $100,000 for you right now, under the table, tax exempt. Those things happen already. Those kind of dirty deals, people try to make them. But then the boards of these corporations, their job is to keep that corporation profitable. And so the board's elected by shareholders, and the board then picks who's going to be CEO, CFO, so on and so forth. And if those guys don't make a profit, they're out. And so if you're one of these CEOs buying my more expensive steel, and one of the board's like, this bottom line is unacceptable. This steel is way too expensive. Go buy from these people. You say no, they will fire you. Same thing. Right? That you can have a grocery store that's only buying the Nabisco cookies, and those are a little more expensive, and someone says something, and hey, wait a minute. Why are you only selling Nabisco cookies? You're not going to say because they hate me. And come the next set of elections to elect these kinds of things, you can throw those people out. And so, corporate accountability boards, let's try to keep them, I don't want to say as local as possible, but as relevant as possible. That let's have one for Bellingham, let's have one for Whatcom County, Western Washington, right? That they monitor the different levels of these businesses. And their job is not to oversee individual businesses, but to make sure that those businesses are matching their production with our actual need. And so if you're the grocery store owner only stocking Nabisco cookies, someone might come saying, hey, wait a minute, we want cheaper cookies. I can't give you those cookies. You're fired. We're going to find someone who will give you cheaper cookies. So it's not...
Do you mean switching to palm oil?
That's a great question. Does it? Yeah. Let's open it up. Who here would pay $1 more for a pack of cookies if you knew it didn't contain palm oil or child labor chocolate? So let's go... that's a pretty good majority. Who here would rather the cheap cookies with the palm oil and child labor chocolate? No. Okay. So you will now elect representatives to these boards that will do just that. And when the grocery stores say, well, we want to buy the palm oil cookies, if you do that, you're fired. The grocery stores now, we're ensuring that management of those grocery stores will actually be the people who will make decisions that we want, who won't use palm oil, who won't use child labor chocolate. And hey, that means you all pay $1 more. But you made an informed decision, and good for you. I think you made the right decision. If you want to change your mind, you got another set of elections in a year or two. All right? And so we kind of skipped ahead a little to the implementation of this. But basically the structure is this. Everything in the economy now is owned by everybody. Right? It's not owned by 5 white guys in Washington, because we all have a stake in it. If Boeing leaves Washington, I'm going to feel it. I don't work at Boeing. I got like a first cousin twice removed that does, but I don't really know them. Right? It really won't affect me because I don't buy airplanes. I don't even work in any industry marginally affected by Boeing. But I will feel it. Because there's going to be a lot of unemployed people. A lot of unemployed people whose money is no longer being spent at Washington businesses. Which means that we're going to see more unemployment, more crime. Right? Worse education in places like Everett, or is it Renton, the other plant is? Right? We're going to see, now what? These places are going to be low-income people are going to move out of there. They're going to cry. And this is the kind of cascade that you get when these big economic decisions happen. If it's going to affect me and all of y'all so viscerally, why don't we get a vote? Why